If you're feeling skeptical about this whole midterm rental space, try this one thing just to get a taste that this may actually be something that is a demand in the marketplace. This one thing is how I like to call the hybrid strategy, how you can almost dip your toe in the water without having to plunge in all in, right? This is if you're like, okay, I'm hearing this is just another phase and this is another fad. Well, the truth is the midterm rental insurance space, the midterm rental space, the midterm rental temporary housing, the whatever you want to call it, has been around for decades, and if not centuries, actually. It's a space that has been around, that now we're coining a new term. But speaking to those who have been in the industry long enough, it's essentially corporate housing, right? And corporate housing, there is a way that you can utilize this by doing this one strategy on one of the biggest platforms, OTAs, online travel agents in the world. And it is in your best interest to try this to also get a lot of data, because this kind of data point is the exact data set that is going to help you get an understanding of, should I go all in on this thing or not? And just for some context, here's why we went all in on this space after being Airbnb operators. Maybe like yourself, or maybe you dabbled in Airbnb and you're like not satisfied because of the high turnovers and all these headaches and guests just making these false claims on your properties. And some of them you get 5 stars and some of them are coming in and they have a problem with everything that is in the property. And if that's you, I want to share a little insight that will give you the confidence that no, this thing really does work and there is a need for it. I don't just look for things that I like to use proofs of concepts that show me that there truly is a need, and I look at data. So one thing to just zoom out before I share this tip with you, you need to really understand where this problem exists in the marketplace. So let me just zoom out for a second, okay? If you think of Airbnb is essentially a term that was coined in the short-term rental industry because they've done an amazing job of catering to the guest. They are in a form looking for temporary housing, but they're really looking for an experience. They're looking for a short-term rental stay, whether they're coming in on a trip, whether they're coming in on a business trip, leisure with family, or visiting a brand new place and you're looking for that experience. I think Airbnb has done an amazing job of opening up their doors. Other homeowners, other vacation rental companies, other resorts, and even hotels make some of their listings available on Airbnb. Boutique hotels, typically not like your big corporations, but it is a platform for people to find furnished accommodation and an experience for them to experience. And that experience is typically done within 3 days, within 5 days, within 7 days, sometimes even one night, depending on what you're into. But it's really important for us to understand it is a short-term rental booking platform that has basically a utility for some midterm rental, but a lot of it, but it's honestly not the entire solution. And if you think about the marketplace, when someone is looking to stay for somewhere, here where their options are, and they're looking for something furnished. Typically traditional investors, traditional renters, they want 12-month leases. So if I'm looking to relocate for the next place for the next 3 or 4 months, I have to be very methodical in my approach, because Airbnb, if there's a listing that's actually a really nice listing, it's usually booked out. And if it's not, it's usually booked out on peak days, which means, or peak weekends or peak dates, which means that if I'm looking to stay for the next 3 months, even if it almost got to the point where there was a window of 1 month, maybe a month and a half, there's a good chance that someone's going to be booked out in some weekend, which means that I would not be able to stay there for 3 months because they just do not have that level of availability, which tells me one thing, that Airbnb is very good for short-term stays, but it's really not the tool for longer term stays like 30-day plus. This is where Furnish Finder kind of comes into the race, right? But Furnish Finder is very different than Airbnb because Furnish Finder is actually not an OTA. If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it and continue on with the gems in this video. It's actually just a platform for you to reach out to homeowners and find out if they're available or not, if they respond. And that's not a dig at Furnish Finder by any means. It is just a reality. But the good thing with Furnish Finder, these are people, aka homeowners, property managers, co-hosts, who are saying they've raised their hand and they said, we don't want to do the short-term rental thing necessarily, but we believe in having short-term stays, and we like that. We're a little bit less risky. It's kind of like the bonds versus the stockholder, right? They're like, we want kind of secured 30-day stays or more, less turnovers. We don't really need and want to have a short-term rental infrastructure where you got cleaners coming in left, right, and center, in and out, guests in and out. It's less headaches, less turnovers to a T, to an extent, I would say. So then you find the Furnish Finders of the world, but you can't directly book on Furnish Finder like you can on Airbnb. So there is a gap there that I find very interesting. But that's where the opportunity is, because for every gap on the other side is an opportunity. So then what happens to the family, the large family, because I love to serve that avatar because there's big opportunity. What happens to that family who need to stay somewhere for 3 months? And the crazy thing is, I recently spoke to a family who was looking on Airbnb, and then I told them, do you know about Furnish Finder? And they're like, I've never heard of such a thing. Dang it, Furnish Finder, dang it. And I love them because I've had them on the platform and they're great and we use them, but not everyone's familiar with them, which means that Airbnb is still a source that we go to with fingers crossed if we're looking for 4 months or 3 months. And if we do find something, is why are you available for 3 months out, 4 months out? Sketchy, right? That probably means you're not the best property, except if you're listening to this. There is a trick that I want to share with you that can at least let you get some data points if you're like, how prevalent is this really, right? Because the truth is, we just don't have the amount of data on it for this kind of space, right? So what I do, and what you should do, and what you can do to test the waters, is to duplicate your listing. Now, when I say that, you might be thinking, why would I duplicate my listing? Because if you duplicate your listing and you put it for 30 days and you remove instant book and you put, I'd rather you put 14 days. I'd rather you put, actually, as a matter of fact, 7 days. Why? Because anytime you go a little bit lower than the 30 or the 14, you cast a wider net. And when I tell you, there's a lot of people out there who are in need of temporary housing, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, sometimes even 3 weeks, there is a lot of conversation to be had. And what they will do, they'll filter and they'll look, but all the best people like you who are booked and busy, making money, serving people, having people, are not going to show up in their search results when they're looking for 30 days plus, except if you duplicate your listing. If you duplicate your listing, you will receive the inquiry that says, oh my goodness, there is a sign. There is a COD. Is your place available? Because we're looking for a 2 month stay or 1 month stay or 3 month stay or 6 month stay due to unforeseen event, due to a flood, due to a reconstruction, due to etc. And you'll see all the reasons for yourself, and you'll be able to see that there is truly, it is more prevalent than you realize, right? So make sure you do it the right way. You set a minimum, you remove the instant book, you don't get double booked, and then we start getting the data. You can take action. And as a matter of fact, we live by having a second Airbnb booking, because it allows us to then be able to move things around and make executive decisions that are the best and most profitable for our business. I'll leave it to that. Very critical. If you got value from this video, make sure you check out my video called What You Need to Know About Relocation Specialists, the ones who are looking for properties and scouring the internet.